there. My name's Gabby, and my business partners always looked down on me. Now that our business is the top restaurant in our city, they're begging me for forgiveness. I've always been a quiet, timid girl, even when I was little. I just stuck to my books and let life happen around me. So growing up, I was picked on a lot, but I took it on the chin and just lived my life. Unfortunately, I never learned to speak my mind or fight for what I believed in, and I never really learned to believe in myself. Those are some qualities you never really want when you go into business, especially in the restaurant business, where people can be quite blunt or cutthroat. I knew I always wanted to have a restaurant. I even went to business school. I aced my classes, but that was because I was book smart. Unfortunately, years later, those smarts weren't able to translate into the real world. I went into business with 2 of my college buddies. The 3 of us believed that with all our skills put together, we could definitely have a world-renowned restaurant. David would handle the customers and the marketing, Brian would handle the money and the books, and I would manage the staff. And it worked, for a while at least. For a glorious 6 months, everyone in the town talked about us. Our restaurant was full from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. We hardly ever got to take a breath. And our staff were happy and thriving, enjoying generous tips from our satisfied customers. But the good times did not last long. Soon, 3 heads proved not better than 1, and the 3 of us started bickering. We fought about how to make the restaurant even better. David stopped showing up for work and started meddling with our chef's recipes. Brian got lazy too and started stealing money from the restaurant's account to line his pockets. And me? Well, what can I do? I could hardly have my voice heard. Those 2 have always had a much louder voice than mine. Even when I wanted to tell them that the changes they're doing to the restaurant are making it suffer, well, they wouldn't listen. You have no idea what you're doing, Gabby. Yeah, if you manage your side of things, everything would be so much smoother. Maybe you should go back to school and actually learn something instead of just memorizing books. Or just go make us a sandwich. That's what Brian and David always told me when I'd try to tell them that they're causing problems for the business. Soon, I too lost my will to actually want to do good. We let the business run itself, and we barely even went to work anymore. And before we knew it, the customers had gone. Nobody was coming into our restaurant anymore. The food became bad. The service, even worse. And no money was coming in. Instead, we had to take out loans. And a year later, we were $900,000 in debt. Brian, David, and I used to be really close friends. Now, we only text and avoid each other. It got so bad that we had to ask for help from a really popular chef to help us turn things around. But when he got there, it was a disaster. She was disgusted by our food. It's like eating a wet diaper. And she was most disappointed in the fact that she saw 3 owners who didn't care or didn't even bother to show up to work. That chef really got stuck in. She had to overhaul our whole menu and even redesign our entire restaurant. She did what she could to help us, but in the end, David was still horrible and rude to our staff, even to the famous chef. And Brian, well, he was pretty much useless at that point. He would just sit in his office and secretly transfer money to his personal bank account. I didn't know what to do anymore. There we were, given a blank slate to start over. We were given a second chance, and nothing had changed. I had shown that I could do well running the whole business by myself, but my partners still didn't believe in me, just because they didn't respect the fact that I'm a girl. They still said I had no spine, and I would only cause the business to crash and burn. But before the chef left, she gave me one piece of advice in front of my partners. You have everything you need right here. You can succeed, Gabby, but only if you do it yourself. You can run this whole place. My advice? Get some money and buy these 2 idiots out. David laughed in my face. Ha! What does she know? Master Chef my ass. She's just a woman. She should stick to what she does best. Being in the kitchen. David's right, you know. You can't run this whole business by yourself. You'll never be successful. You're too much of a pushover." "Right. I mean, you can't even convince a guy to go out with you. What makes you think you can convince this whole city that you can run a restaurant?" David was always bragging about the number of models he dates just because he tells them he's a businessman. Little did both of them know the whole thing was being filmed. The chef was actually filming a TV show, and everything my partners did and said were recorded. Months later, I did what the chef told me to do. I didn't care what it cost. I actually sold my house just so I could get enough money. I made Brian and David an offer they can't refuse. And they finally left. After they'd gone, I stayed at the restaurant. I lived there, 'cause I had nowhere else to go. All my stuff was in my car, and I would sleep in my office. But everything the chef taught us, I put into action. I treated my staff nicely. I motivated them, and I kept the same high standards for the food. The TV show aired, and customers came flooding in. It was a roaring success. At first, people only came because they saw us on TV, but then they kept coming back because they liked it so much. A year later, we're still struggling to tell people that we're fully booked. In fact, our waiting list is 6 months long now. We were soon getting awards, and we were named the best restaurant in the city. It was also only when I saw the TV episode that I found out the reality of Brian stealing from the restaurant. So one day, when they came in begging for their jobs back, I called the police. I knew Brian only came back because he saw that the restaurant was making so much money. He probably wanted to steal more from me. I turned them away, reminding them that they already signed a piece of paper saying that they had no part in the business anymore. But days later, the pair started rumors about the place. They said we had a rat infestation and that we sometimes bought expired food to save on costs. Brian also told the press that I stole tips from my waiters. Funny enough, nobody believed them. Everyone could see what they were trying to do, and all the scandal they tried to drum up only worked in the restaurant's favor. We saw even more reservations after that. But I couldn't just stand by and take their bullying anymore, especially when Brian, the actual thief, accused me of stealing tips from my staff. So I called the cops on him. I called the superstar chef who helped us and asked her one last favor. "Hi, chef. It's me, Gabby. I don't know if you still remember me, but I need your help again. Just this one time." "Of course I remember you, Gabby." The chef's TV show forwarded me the footage they got of Brian stealing from the restaurant, and I used it as evidence in court. Now Brian's enjoying his time in jail. I imagine he steals people's soaps in there. And David? Well, he kept coming back, begging me to let him be a manager or a waiter or a dishwasher. Just anything. Just any job will do. Please, Gabby, I'm begging you. We're buddies, aren't we? I laughed at his face. Why, David? Is it because you can no longer tell girls you run a successful restaurant? I'm bankrupt. I had to sell all my Rolexes. I need the job. Any job. I can clean the toilets. Oh, no thanks, David. I don't believe you've ever cleaned a single toilet in your life, and I don't want you to ruin them. Like you ruined your own life. Ah! These must be my boys. Just then, a group of supermodels came in through the door, all smiling and happy to see me. Thanks to the TV show and the restaurant's newfound popularity, lots of actors and models have been reaching out to me. They all wanted a tour of the place, and some of them even wanted to date me. I found it hilarious, too, that the girl everyone picked on for being shy and not being able to get a date now has an inbox full of invitations to dates. And it was funny, too, how David was right there to witness it. The guys all greeted me and planted a kiss on my cheek, and I couldn't help but laugh at the look on David's shocked face. See, David, even I don't need any bling for a guy to find me attractive. Maybe you're just doing it wrong. David wrinkled his face at me. You're gonna regret this. Oh, I highly doubt it, but I can't wait to see you try. With that, I closed the restaurant door on David's face and walked back in with my dates to my thriving, very successful business.